which is about including graphical objects as part of your ident. So for this example, I have chosen one of your ideas. I think this is Emma's, and it's called The Man Who Owns Me. And so what I would like to do is to include an image, a vector image of a man by the side of this text. Not that Emma should choose that idea. I'm sure Emma's had much better ideas than this, but it will show you how to include graphical objects in your ident. So I've got some text. This was just one of the built-in fonts from the school system. All I've done is turn it into vector objects and just rearranged it so that it's emphasized the words man and owns, which are the kind of the keywords from the ident. And I would now like to place an outline of a man in here. So looking at the Googles, I've just typed in businessman silhouette, and it's brought up a whole range of images of men. And I've chosen, or I've started to look at ideas for ones that would work well. This one should work pretty well. It's quite a big image, 1042 by 1042. So if I want to bring this one in, I can right click and copy image, and then paste. Incidentally, what I'm showing you here is technically not okay because we're using copyrighted images, although I'll say that because we're working within education, we're okay to do this, but I would strongly urge you to record where you get the image from, the website that you take your images from, and record it in your coursework, because technically these are copyrighted images. We're just borrowing them. So I've got my image and brought it into Illustrator. And the next thing I'm going to do is convert this. This, of course, at the moment is a bitmap image. If I was to zoom in, you can see the pixels that make up this image, but we don't want pixels, we want vectors. So I'm going to click on this image, and then because I've clicked on a bitmap image, Illustrator will give me the option to image trace. So I'm going to click on image trace and we'll see what it does with that. So we now have a vector version of the image. By default, Illustrator won't trace things in the best way, so what you may need to do is just play around with the settings. I usually turn the paths up high to give us a more complex shape, and I turn the corners down because that will give us a more organic kind of more organic type shape, and usually I turn the noise down a little bit as well. Okay, that looks good. So I'm just going to zoom out again, Control and 0. And we now have a vector version of that graphic. What I can now do, if I'm happy with the way that Illustrator has traced it, is click on Expand, which will give us the vector objects rather than a kind of a preview, which is what it was before. And now what I'm able to do is right-click on this group and ungroup, and I can then select this object here, which is the body and the head and the tie of the guy. Select this, and I could make it a different color, so I could make it pink, for instance. Let's just move this to one side. Now I can delete these white objects because they're not needed. Backspace to delete. And I now have a vector object of just the man. So let's play around with colors and try and make this work as an ident. What I would say is you should always, wherever possible, I'm a big believer in aligning things or making things make sense by aligning them to each other. So for instance, for this, in my mind, this text should line up with the top of his head, and the me should line up with where his feet are. There's a few different ways of doing that. What we can do is select the man, always hold down Shift when you're resizing things, and you should be able to drag upwards, and Illustrator should give you a green line when it detects that you've aligned with something. So that's aligned with me. Same goes for the head. resize until it aligns with the top of the lettering, like that. And pink probably isn't the right color, so we could try maybe red, or we could. It's a funny one, this, because this is an image which has been designed to be black, and of course we're working on a black background. Could we get away with grey, or could we use a background color for the ident like white? Send that white object behind these objects and then make them black. Would that work better? It's up to you. Does that work? That kind of works, doesn't it? What you could then do, because I've turned these into vector objects and ungrouped and then grouped them into words, what I can now do is adjust the placement of these different words so that they kind of follow the profile of the guy. Like that. Possibilities are endless. So we could have something like that, so we kind of follow the profile of the man. We could experiment with a different colour. Emma used a lot of yellow in her proposal. So something like that. So you can then play around with the placement and the position of the different objects that you've got, but that is how to incorporate a graphical object into your ident. Thanks for watching.